Devil May Cry 5 is right around the corner, so in our never-ending quest to keep you fully informed on the latest games dropping, we're here with 10 things you absolutely need to know about Devil May Cry 5. Let's get you caught up, starting off with number 10. Let's talk about the playable characters. Devil May Cry 5 is confirmed to have 3 playable characters, so let's break them down real quick. First, there's Nero. Nero, the main character of Devil May Cry 4, returns with a new haircut and a little bit more of an edge, but he also has a mechanical arm in the place of his previous Devilbringer demon arm, which we'll get to in a bit. After Devil May Cry 4 and his implied familial origins, he's definitely been established as a key character in the series. He fights in a more traditional Devil May Cry style, with a powerful handgun, the Blue Rose, and his trusty red queen sword that he can rev up for more attack power. Then, of course, there's Dante. Thank God you can play as him in this one, as he's the original protagonist, and as far as I'm concerned, he's still the heart of the series. This time around, he's got a cool motorcycle that he can ride and attack enemies or use as weapons, as well as his classic stuff like Ebony and Ivory, and some new additions that we'll get to in a later point. And the last revealed playable character is V, someone who's still shrouded in some mystery. This Kylo Ren looking dude uses a cane and appears to be less superpowered than our other heroes, instead choosing to read from an ancient book and be flanked by magical demon creatures he has a pact with, like a bird named Griffin, a cat predator, Shadow, and a large golem-like monster called Nightmare. Calling him in requires a filled Devil Trigger gauge, which he has access to, and that can be filled by V staying safe and reading from his book with a button press. He fights from a distance because he's weaker, so he controls these creatures to attack for him, and then he moves in to finish off the enemies. But you will still have to worry about keeping your creatures safe at the same time. It's a lot to juggle, but it's a big shakeup for the series, and it seems pretty cool. Now, next at number 9, Devil May Cry 5 is set a few years after the events of Devil May Cry 4. Nero has sort of got his own version of a Devil May Cry business going on with his partner and weapons mechanic Nico. He heads into Redgrave City, which is being invaded by monsters and demons thanks to a giant demonic tree that has taken root in the middle of the city. And he's out for more personal reasons, to right some wrongs and find the person who severed his really cool demon arm. Now, everybody always asks, do you need to play the previous games? This is a new adventure a few years after the other games, but there's so much going on in the lore that might tie in that I think it certainly helps if you've played at least 4. But next at number 8, this is very interesting. Let's talk about the game's music for a second. According to an interview with the producer, the better and more stylish you are in gameplay, which has always been a Devil May Cry thing to have a style ranking score you, now the music will reflect how you play. Basically, the better you are and better your style rankings, the more of songs and tracks you will actually hear during gameplay. So if you reach S rank and become completely badass, the game will pretty much tell you that through audio cues, both music changing and voiceovers. Other games have done this, Devil May Cry and DMC has played around with this, but it's still super cool to hear, and the game has plenty of licensed tracks to use it, like that Devil Trigger song, which, I'm not gonna lie, is pretty catchy. Now, next at number 7, let's get down to some technical stuff. First of all, the game is running on a modified version of the Resident Evil engine, which has been responsible for the absolutely gorgeous Resident Evil 7 and newer Resident Evil 2 remake. Devil May Cry 5 and Capcom are targeting 4K resolution 60 FPS on both PS4 Pro and Xbox One X. There are reports of it being native 4K on Xbox One X, with more of a checkerboarding thing going on PS4 Pro. Now, the intention is to also keep the frame rate high at 60 FPS on base consoles as well. Since the game has had demos you may have seen for yourself, but if you want more info, we like to always point to Digital Foundry's videos and deep graphical analysis. They're worth checking out on this one. And on the PC side, recommended specs are an Intel i7-3770 or an FX 9590, a GTX 1060 with 6GB of video RAM, or an RX 480, 8GB of RAM in general, and 35GB of hard drive space. Now, next at number 6, like any good Devil May Cry game, the game itself and progression revolves around the currency of red orbs. You collect them through fighting and just throughout the world, as well as revive objects and blue shards to expand your health and just stuff to refill your gauges. But red orbs, like I said, are the main draw. You're able to spend them back at your van or in between chapters to buy items and, buy new abilities and attacks and buffs for your characters, as well as buy more mechanical arms since they are expendable. Some stuff does transfer from character to character when you swap, but abilities earned and unlocked are per character. Now, there are in-game microtransactions, much to the ire of many folks, where you can spend real-world money to get red orbs faster, but Capcom has stressed that it is designed to not affect anything and that players who don't pay up won't be penalized like with extra grinding or anything. They've said it's simply a way for less motivated characters to get those special upgrades. Apparently balancing will be okay because some stuff is locked behind story progression still more than anything. Still not sure how we feel about the whole concept, but we're just gonna have to wait and judge the final product. But over at number 5, the game does have a tiny bit of multiplayer that might surprise you how it works. This is actually pretty cool. It's called the Cameo System. Sometimes in the game, other characters will be elsewhere in the level, fighting through their own scenarios and whatever is going on in their timeline. You'll see a character doing something from afar, and then later in the game, you'll play as that character doing that thing. The same goes for certain scenarios where you get to choose who to play as, and then that other character will play alongside you. The difference is that other player is controlled by another player character. I think it might be like a recorded version of that person playing. That's just speculation, I don't know, but either way, if you're offline, it'll just be controlled by AI like normally. Apparently it doesn't affect too much, but we haven't seen much of it in action, but you do get an on-screen indicator saying starring and then the person's online handle. We hope this is really cool and not distracting. It seems like a pretty nice idea. But now at number 4, since it's out there, let's acknowledge the game's length. Director Hideaki Itsuno said at a recent event that the game will take about 15 or 16 hours to complete. Now, of course, that's without the game's replayable elements like different skins or difficulty modes. This length shouldn't come as a surprise to most series fans. Folks on the outside looking in might not think that that's enough, but then again, Devil May Cry isn't exactly Skyrim or anything, and we didn't really expect that. But coming down to number 3, let's talk about the game post-launch. Bloody Palace is confirmed, the series staple of an extreme challenge mode to play through that is really beloved by a lot of hardcore fans. It's not at launch, that's a bummer, but it's coming as a free update roughly 1 month after launch, sometime in April. Other than that, that is really it, which is crazy to think that a modern game really has no announced plans for a lot of big post-launch stuff, but I guess they're keeping it old school here, and we really respect that. The game director, Itsuno, like I said, has also went on record saying if it's warranted, they could add Trish or Lady or others as DLC characters after launch, but that's about it. Basically, Devil May Cry 5 seems like it's keeping it pretty simple. And you know what? We're okay with that. Now at number 2, let's talk about those weapons. Devil May Cry 5 is going to feature new and old weapons. Now we already touched upon Dante's motorcycle. It's called the Cavalier, which is rideable but also converts into handheld chainsaw-style weapons. He's also reported to use both Rebellion and Sparta, as well as, of course, his pistols, Ebony and Ivory. He also gets his shotgun and a rocket launcher that now has multi-shot capability. Plus, Cerberus nunchucks are back, finally making a return, and they can do new stuff. Then there's also these armor, glove, boot, hand-to-hand things called the Balrog. Those look like they're going to be fun to use. Basically, Dante has access to a lot of cool weapons. His arsenal is the biggest. Nero, on the other hand, has his Devil Breakers, his mechanical arm. They are expendable, like you said. You can buy more with Orbs, or you just pick them up throughout the world. They have various uses. You can self-destruct all of them for some damage. Some electrify and stun enemies. Some fly around autonomously and punch. Some slow time. You can even hop on one and ride it like a hover skateboard. And a lot of them have more of like a secondary use as like a grapple mechanic, either pulling yourself towards an enemy or pulling an enemy towards you. A lot of them are really over the top and ridiculous. There's also one that is basically Mega Man's Mega Buster gun, so that's cool. You can do a regular use or hold the button and do a stronger use that is often expendable too. Plus, it's really important to note that if you get hit while using one of your arm abilities, it will break and you instantly use it. So there's a big risk reward to consider. How many of these arms do you want to burn through in one fight? You gotta consider that. There's a couple more weapons we know of to discover in the game, but we think these are the ones that you should know about right now. Now finally, at number 1, of course, if you've watched any of these videos, we got some general housekeeping. Devil May Cry 5 is set to launch on PS4, Xbox One, and PC on Friday, March 8th, 2019. Like pretty much every big game that releases these days, it will be available in a slew of editions at various price points, starting at least in the United States, $60 for the standard edition. For $10 more, you can get the deluxe edition that comes with the base game, as well as a bunch of digital bonuses like different announcers for the style rankings, alternate weapons like the Mega Buster and Pasta Breaker getting access to it immediately, as well as different packaging if you want to go physical. The next step up from there comes in the form of a collector's edition, which will run you roughly $150 and comes with the deluxe edition, a replica of the van, an art book, a pin, a sticker, and an exclusive cloth print. Now finally, we gotta mention this, the Japan-only Ultra Limited Edition, which comes with a replica of one of the coats from the 3 playable characters in the game, and they range in price from $5,400 up to $8,000. If you just want to dress up like one of the main Devil May Cry playable characters and you have a shit ton of money, go ahead. We imagine you'd have to really want that jacket, but hey, we're not gonna judge you. You do you. that's everything we think you should know to be caught up about Devil May Cry 5 if you're looking forward to jumping in March. But of course, we want to hear from you guys down in the comments. Are you looking forward to this game? Which character are you looking forward to getting your hands on the most? Obviously, I'm biased. I'm going to say Dante, of course. But we want to talk about anything Devil May Cry. What's your favorite one, and what are you looking forward to the most in this one? But also, of course, if you learned anything from this video, clicking the like button is the best way you can help us out. We would really appreciate that. But if you're new, you should consider subscribing, hitting that notification bell, because we put out videos every single day. But, as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.